My name is Alea Leyland, and this is an episode of the Enchanted Life Salon brought to you on Look Who's Talking Vision. Sit back, relax, grab a cup of something, and let's contemplate the enchantment that is our life. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever and whenever you are. This is Alea Leyland, and I'm coming to you live from the Big Island of Hawaii, and I am attempting to connect with Michael, who is in Europe. I am going to give you guys some music to listen to while I continue to try to unravel the mysteries of Skype. So please enjoy August Rush. Wait a sec. That may not need to happen because I think I see Mike's little self here. So I'm going to see if I actually do have him, and then I will introduce him to you. So give me 1 second.
Hello,
Michael, is that you?
Yeah, the symbol just appeared like magic. Just when you went on the air, then this symbol appeared.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, so that's how it was.
It didn't appear until you were alive, and so I couldn't call you before. That's why I didn't. And then as soon as you went live, then the S appeared, so I see it now.
Oh, well, this is very good to know.
So we're good to go. Let's go. Let's do it.
I tell you, I just love this technology thing. It's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so I haven't told the audience anything about you. I was just telling them that they were going to have to listen to music until I found you. You don't quite qualify as our baby boomer. And not because, well, you are, I guess, a baby boomer by now. But when you became an expat, you were not a baby boomer. So you fill several different spaces of our listeners. We have some listeners who are Americans who are just wanting to escape, and so they're moving to other countries and trying to live, create jobs, and just become global citizens as opposed to U.S. citizens. But we also have several Americans who have worked for 50, 60 years, however many years in America, and now they're 60 years old, and they're wanting to retire to other countries as well. So maybe age-wise, although you gave me a frown when I said, the show is about baby boomers, you said, what makes you think I'm a baby boomer?
I am a baby boomer, 1957. That puts me square in the middle.
Even if you don't look like one.
No, just a baby.
That's right. Now, first of all, I want you to tell us where you are, because you are the most amazing globetrotting human I have ever seen. Every time I see you on Facebook, you are going somewhere. Where are you today?
Right now, I am in the canton of Ticino in southern Switzerland. That's the Italian-speaking part of Switzerland, about, 5 miles from the Italian border. And I'm looking at my window over the Lago Maggiore, which is I don't know what that means. It's just a big lake. And across the lake is a big mountain that's all covered with fog. It's been raining all day here.
Amazing.
And we've been down this week. I've been in, yesterday we were in Milan. Before that we were in Bologna. Before that we were in Ravenna and San Marino. That was my little journey this last week.
Okay. Now, just so the audience knows, and I guess even from my own understanding, because you've been my friend for years now, but I don't think I really know a whole lot about you before I met you. So am I to understand that you were not born into like the Rockefellers or anything? You're not independently wealthy. You're not a trust fund baby or anything like that.
No, I'm just a typical middle class Long Island boy. ran away from home as a teenager, just like so many have, and my generation, and pulled themselves up by his bootstraps out in California. And just by, well, you know how the universe works, I met a Swiss woman back in 1983, I suppose, 84. And we ended up living together and being married and having a child. And in 1990, after the big California earthquake, we decided to give up the U.S. and move to Switzerland. And I kind of saw, like what you were talking about the baby boomer and wanting to leave the States. I got that urge real early back. I saw the handwriting on the wall back in like 1989. That was it was time to get out.
You know, I did too, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. And and I think that a lot of young people, you know, people that are in their 20s and maybe their 30s, they would go, oh my God, I want to live in the world, not just the United States. Yeah. And you know, I don't want this little book to have, you know, this little book that says passport to denote where it is I go, and I want to see the real world, not what the Fox News and whatever else tells me is the world. And but nobody knows how to do it. So
the red, white, and blue curtain has been descending ever since the last 20 years, and since 9/11, it's really come down hard. There used to be the USSR that was the Iron Curtain, but I'm afraid to say that's changed now. That's the USA now, and getting harder and harder to escape that. And but it still can be done, and there are ways to do it. People are still doing it. I have 2 passports now. I have a Swiss and American passport, and
oh, you're so lucky.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you know, of course, I married into another country. That was easier, so that made things easier for me. That's probably, if you want to live in another country, that's probably the easiest route if you can find someone to love or to marry you in another country. That's the easiest way to get into live in another country.
Okay, and because you were married to a Swiss national, then it gave you the rights to be like a Swiss national. You got to have a job.
It gave me the right to reside here for a certain number of years. And back in the early 90s when I first came here, it was very easy as the husband of a Swiss woman to get a passport. It was just like send the check in the mail, and it came in the mail to get the passport.
Wow.
Yeah, but they've since clamped down. It's more difficult now. And for example, I am now married, and this is probably going to throw a wrench in your works here, but I'm divorced from that Swiss woman. I'm married now to a German man. Okay, now your listeners are blown away. And
some of them are very straight men, so you're right, they're blown away. But there are some gay men in this group as well.
We won't go into this topic too heavily. But I'm just saying, as a case in point, I would like to get citizenship for my husband now, and it's not as easy as it used to be. They're clamping down everywhere. The whole world is kind of clamping down on this thing. It's too bad. I think we should be able to just come and go as we want, but people don't think that way.
You know, I totally agree with you that that it's a planet, not little cells. And it's kind of ironic that whenever they start talking about terrorism and whatever, they talk about cells, and they want transparency. And it's like, well, you know, if you get transparent in yourself and, you know, in your way that you deal with the world, then the rest of the world wouldn't be showing you little cells. But somehow they
I think it has to do with economics largely, and also ideologies. You know, there are places, well, like Switzerland's a prime example where the standard of living is very, very high, and if they're afraid that if they don't clamp down on immigration, they were just going to be flooded with people from everywhere else. You know, and it's a country with only 8 million people in it, and we've already got 27% of those people are from someplace else, and they're worried of their culture being watered down. Now, I'm not saying I agree with that, but that's probably part of the consideration. And also the economics. You know, This is probably one of the few places in the world you go to where you don't see people begging on the streets, and there's little crime, and the infrastructure functions, and they're worried. It's kind of like, well, we got in the door and we're going to close it behind us.
Yeah.
That's the mentality, And
now, when you moved there, you were able to get a job, but it's almost. I'm going to say this, and I think I think I'm correct. No matter where you go in the world, you have to be somewhat creative if you are going to survive. Even in the U.S., it's like you have to decide, I want to do this work, or I want to do that work, or I want to be this, or I want to create this business, or whatever. So,
well, I always say that when you move to another country, it's a challenge and an opportunity. The challenge is, and it's both the two edges of the same coin. You get to, and you have to reinvent yourself. And here's a good case in point. I'm originally a graphic designer and illustrator from the Walt Disney School. And when I came to Switzerland, I thought, I'll just continue working in my field. But nobody wanted my work. They said it was too American. Nobody would give me any work. Luckily, my wife at the time had work. She was a nurse, but in my case, it was I would have starved. And so by chance, someone asked me if I could translate a line of text from German into English, and my German was really poor. I mean, almost negligible. But I somehow managed to do it, and now I own a translation agency with 65 translators in 26 languages. And so I had to reinvent myself. And I think that's kind of the thing you need to think about when you move to another country. Sometimes the skills you have don't translate to that culture.
Okay, so, but you started your translation company with just you.
Originally, it was just me.
How long did it take it to grow?
Oh, goodness gracious. About 8 years, and then I had I tend to have a lot of luck, but in 2002, a big company that I had been working for part-time as a translator outsourced their entire department to my new company, and I got a big client right away, and since then we've just grown. But I can't say that happens to everybody, but in my case it did. So.
Now, this is going to get into the esoteric part of this a little bit, because you and I both know, and a lot of my listeners, because, of course, you gravitate to what is like you, a lot of us are into law of attraction and, setting intention and all of that. So what was the thought process on that level when you went? I mean, was there ever any fallback of, oh gosh, what if I don't make it? Was there a projection even at, in the 80s when you went, was there a projection of, this is going to be my home, I'm going to travel all over Europe and have a wonderful time and go to Southeast Asia and all the places that you've gone? What was the thought process?
You really want to know? Well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys are pretty new age, because this is going to be pretty out there. In the 80s, the woman I was with, when I was with her, I was able to channel. And I know this is going to come across really woo-woo. And during those years, we were basically told to get out while the getting was good.
Uh-huh.
This was in 1989. And then around the same time, several things happened at once. Our daughter was born in August of 89. And then in October of 89 was the big California quake, which severely damaged our house. And so we had no money to fix it. So we had to spend all our money to fix it and then sell it. And then the recession came and my business went broke. I was a graphic design business, and that with also the channel message we got was all very strong signs that it was time to go. And we had visited Switzerland that summer, the summer before the baby was born, and it was like paradise here. It was people extremely well off. People could live on one income, and it just seemed so much, really attractive. And after all those things happened, we said, look, we just packed everything in a sea container and we moved.
Wow.
Simple as that. We just put it all, everything we owned in a container. We flew to Switzerland, and our stuff arrived 6 weeks later.
Oh, my God. Okay, did you move to her parents, or did you just move and find a place to live?
Yeah, the first couple of months we lived in her parents, which was like up in the mountains like Heidi, in a little dairy farm. But within a few months, we had found our own place, and we found a beautiful old farmhouse we lived in. It was actually quite idyllic. And
wow.
I've never regretted it, never a day. Never since that one. I've never once regretted moving, never.
I know. I see the pictures of your place on Facebook, and I just go, oh my God, I got to go there. I want to go there because I have that globetrotter desire. I've always wanted to live all over the planet, not just in one place. And only recently, in the last 2 years, have I sort of realized that maybe there is a way for me to be able to do this, and survive. And I started looking, and that's where Baby Boomers Going Global was born. I started looking at are there other people doing this? And, other than Tina Turner.
Who lives down the street from us, by the way.
Does she really?
She just became a Swiss citizen a couple weeks ago.
Well, I know she did, but she lives down the street from you?
Well, I'm exaggerating, but she lives in Zurich. We don't live far away, no.
Oh, my goodness. So you can probably see her at lunch.
I've seen her in the street. I've seen her, or sometimes she comes and plays in the local club. We run her. We've seen Tina. She's around.
Amazing. So, not only do you have your translation business, but you have been able to pursue your hobbies and to dabble in other avenues. You're doing an antique business, you do your photography, you travel. There's all these other things that you pursue, and traveling being the biggest one of them, because it seems like I said, every week you're going somewhere.
Well, yeah. It's like I talked about before. If you really want to be a global citizen, you've got to be a bit of a chameleon and learn to really adapt and land on your feet and reinvent yourself constantly. And I'm at a point now where I'm transitioning out of my translation business into other areas and making my hobbies my profession. And I always told myself when I turned 50 that I was going to start traveling the world, which is probably not a strange concept to you people. And so I had to figure a way to do it. And just like you guys, just like everyone else here, I'm in the same boat. I still have to make a living and pay for my house and my mortgage and all the stuff I've got going on over here. And so about, 3 years ago, I really started focusing on that. And so that's where the antique business comes in, because wherever we travel, we buy stuff that we sell in our shop. It's been online now for about 10 years. And now we're opening actually a bricks and mortar shop for our antiques and our collectibles. And that's all stuff I pick up on my travels, whether it's in Bali or wherever I go, I buy stuff. And then also I started developing my photography business with the same idea, also travel writing. And so all of these things I'm finding ways to make travel pay. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, absolutely. And it's something that we have discussed and looked at, and I've discussed and, just really tried to research, and you appear to be doing it. Now,
in the process, I don't want to BS you guys. It's a tough nut to crack because a lot of people are trying to do it, and it's something you've really got to think ahead of. You can't just jump in the deep end of the pool, or at least I wasn't able to. I'm 56. I don't want to just give up my nice, comfortable life at the same time. And so I'm transitioning into that slowly but surely. I've been taking the proceeds from my successful translation business and investing it for the last 15 years in a huge inventory of stuff that we sell. I'm investing it into promoting myself as a travel writer and travel photographer, and I'm starting to see the first results of that now.
Okay, let me ask you this, and you can say, I'm not telling you and the world that.
Oh, you know me, I'm an open book. Anyway, go ahead.
I am too, and so sometimes I ask people things that they go, excuse me. I know that the cost of living is higher in Switzerland than it is, say, in Southeast Asia.
Well, it's kind of the same. It's equitable. It's about the same as Hawaii.
Okay, so it's about the same as Hawaii.
Yeah.
If you had to live not in Switzerland, but if you had to live somewhere else, like for example Thailand or Indonesia, are you making enough online now to do that? Are you making like $1,000 a month online?
Yeah, about there.
Okay, but it's just
I figure that I'm 10 years off of retirement age here for my Swiss retirement. At that point, I could, with my retirement, what I'm making and all the other things I'm doing, I could live in Bali easily.
Okay.
And have a house.
You have a house in Bali?
I would have one in that case.
Oh, okay. Like, oh my God, have you bought a house? I didn't hear about that.
No. We almost did, but we bought a motorhome to travel through Europe while we're still young. And I
understand that. I did the motorhome while I was still young.
We travel in our motorhome, and we buy antiques, and I do my photography and my writing from there. And it's got like an uplink satellite dish, internet satellite dish, and wherever we go, we're just sort of connected.
Now, let me ask you this. This is something that the satellite dish is hooked into a satellite. It's not hooked into cell towers, right?
No.
So how expensive is that?
How what?
How expensive is that?
Obscenely. To get going, it was a hassle and expensive. But now that it works, it's cheap. It's $100 a year. But $100
a year?
Yeah. Once I'm hooked, I've got the infrastructure set up. It's cheap, but the infrastructure was really expensive. The prices are coming down every year, but at that point, well, you know about motorhomes. You used to have one, but to get the dish installed and the first time and getting it up and running, it was pretty expensive. But now that it's up, it's just a subscription thing that we have.
And so anywhere that you went on the planet, as long as you were taking this motorhome with you, you would be hooked in. Yeah,
I do.
Okay, let me ask you this. Now, I know that it was
It didn't work up near the polar circle. Last summer we went up near the polar circle, and there was a certain point up north where it stopped.
Okay. Well, gee, I don't think I'll be going there. How much did it cost at that time to get the infrastructure of it, to get the mechanics of it installed on your motorhome and whatnot?
I think it was about $2,000.
That's not that much.
Well, I thought it was.
Well, it's not that much when you think about what it would cost if you were doing. I mean, you spend that in a year on long distance whatever.
Well, yeah, it depends. Now, over here in Europe, it's going to be obsolete within a short amount of time. Within a couple of years, they won't even need that anymore. They have a lot of European countries now have these devices. They look like, I don't know what, they're like a pod, and it's like a little internet transmitting station. It's very tiny. It looks like kind of like a cell phone. Up in Sweden, they have them. They work brilliantly. You just have to put it on the table, and if you're within 5 meters of it, it works. And it costs peanuts. And it's like satellite dishes will be obsolete within a few years.
But your satellite dish is global, so that means that if you took your motorhome with your satellite dish to another country. Have is
actually I would have to probably get a different subscription. The one I have is really just for Eurosat, which is the European satellite, and I think it goes like from middle of Sweden down to North Africa, and then most of Europe, and I don't know how far east, but So I wouldn't necessarily, this one wouldn't necessarily work in North America, but I don't think I would take my motorhome anywhere else. I bought it just to travel in Europe.
I understand. But the reason I'm asking...
There's enough to explore here to keep me busy for a while.
Right. Well, the reason I'm asking is we have a lot of people in Southeast Asia, Thailand in particular,
right.
And one of the issues in Southeast Asia is internet connection. Reliable, strong internet connection. You can get internet connection everywhere, and there's, internet cafes all over the place. But we have some people that are day traders. We have people that are teaching English as a second language or TEFL or however you say that.
TEFL,
yeah, and so these people want, and they're doing it online, so they are really wanting a strong, reliable internet connection. And in some countries, like in Cambodia and whatnot, that's like, what? You want what? And so, your dish thing seems like a good solution.
You might look into it. I really don't know how it works in other continents, in other regions. It works relatively good here. I mean, it does have drawbacks to it. For example, if a strong cloud coverage blocks the satellite and the dish, you could get, it reduces the efficiency. Or even if we're parked beneath a tree sometimes, and that blocks the line of, a broadcast line between the dish and the satellite, that'll affect it too. So I don't want to paint too rosy a picture. It has its limitations, but when it works well.
Okay, that's fair enough. So at the moment, though, you're using some of your translation business, which is kind of up and running and doing its own thing, to facilitate your being able to kickstart these other things.
Oh yeah, definitely. I believe in investing in myself. I don't invest in stocks or anything. I don't keep my money. I don't pile a lot of money in the bank because I don't think the banks are, it's pretty clear that they're not reliable. So when I have profits to invest, I invest in myself, in my businesses, and that's proved to be a successful formula.
Yeah. So for someone who is looking at, for myself, who I'm looking at becoming way more global, because I've traveled to other places, but I haven't lived in other places except by accident. I lived in Canada by accident.
Were you avoiding the draft?
Pardon?
Were you dodging the draft?
No, they didn't have the draft for females. No, I wasn't. I went up there actually to teach. I was invited up to teach for like a 6-week period, and my vehicle broke down. And I was told that if I left the country without the vehicle, then the vehicle became property of the state or the country or whatever. Okay. And so I had to stay with the vehicle until the vehicle was repaired, and it's a long story. I'm just going to scrunch it. There was some issue between Canada and Mitsubishi, and so they would not allow Mitsubishi parts into the country.
Oh, God.
They would allow you to drive a Mitsubishi car into the country, but if it broke, you were SOL. And I needed a new engine. And I couldn't get one because it was a Mitsubishi.
Oh,
so I ended up being there for almost a year. While I figured out a way to get an engine into the country for my vehicle, because the only other alternative would have been to somehow get the vehicle towed out of the country. But and this is the whole thing where these borders just don't make any sense. My other option to get the vehicle repaired was to have the vehicle moved out of the country, towed out or carried out on a flatbed or something. But if the vehicle left the country, other than under its own power, then the U.S. would charge import on the vehicle coming back into the U.S. if it was already from the U.S.
Goodness gracious.
So I don't know. Eventually, it all worked out. I had a friend who drove long-haul trucks into Canada to carry luxury cars, and he just chucked the Mitsubishi engine in there with his luxury car that he was transporting to Canada, and some friends came down from up north and picked up the engine and put it in the car, and I got home.
Oh, good for you. There's always a way.
There is always a way, and that's kind of the theme of all the people that hang out on this one forum that I'm in, which is called Retired Cheap Asia, and it's the guy who runs it. His byline is "There's always an option."
Always a way. We imported the camper we've got, a brand new camper. We found that they cost half the price in Italy. We live in Switzerland, and there's an issue because Switzerland is not in the EU, but it's surrounded by EU countries. The EU is the European Union. And so we naively bought our camper down in Italy for half the price of what it would cost in Switzerland, and then arranged for the dealer to meet us in no man's land between Switzerland and Italy. And there the camper remained because the Italians wouldn't let it take it back, and the Swiss wouldn't let us import it.
Oh, no.
So we were stuck there for hours and hours, and we had to pay bribes, and we ended up sleeping in the camper in no man's land. And,
well, at least you had a camper.
Right. And then we ended up, but eventually we did manage to import it. But it was a huge hassle. Because you're dealing I had to deal in Italian, and my Italian's not very good, and it was really a difficult thing.
That's interesting, though, because there's a lot of the guys. The one guy who runs Retired Cheap Asia has taken a 12-passenger van. You know, those ones with the elevated roofs that they use for tours and stuff.
Yeah.
He's taken one of those vans and sort of converted it to an RV. A very primitive RV, but an RV no less. But nothing like the one that I lived in, and nothing by far like the one that you're in. But some of the other men on the site, the women are going, "Ha, are you kidding?" But the men on the site are going, "Oh, that looks like a really cool way to see Asia."
Yeah, I think I love going in my camper. I love it. You really experience things differently in the camper. I think it's a great idea. We're taking ours down to Croatia this year.
Wow. Now, your camper is set up to drive on the opposite side of the road as the U.S., correct?
No, not true. Only England does that. No, we drive on the same side of the road.
I get it all confused as to which country is on which side of the road.
Only England and I think Cyprus. As far as I know, those are the only two.
In Europe.
Australia, yeah. Yeah, in Europe, it's just, Ireland.
In Southeast Asia, Thailand is on the other side of the road.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I've never been to Thailand.
Yeah, Thailand is on the other side of the road.
Doesn't Japan also drive on that side?
I don't know. I don't know about Japan, but I know Thailand does, and I believe it's surrounded by countries who don't. So, if you have a vehicle in Thailand and you want to go up to Cambodia, in Cambodia they drive on the same side of the road as the U.S.
Yeah.
And so you can't take your vehicle into Cambodia
because over here you can. We see British people driving down here in the normal side of the road countries, and it just looks odd. They're on the wrong side of the car, but they still drive their cars.
Oh my gosh, it must be so strange for them as a driver.
Yeah, I suppose. I've driven on the other side of the road. It's a little It's a little bit crazy the first few hours, but you get used to it.
Oh. I've decided that I'm going to have a driver.
Yeah, well, I would suggest that in the nation country anyway. I never drive to Bali. It's just too crazy. I can't. I don't want. I want to live a bit longer.
I know. Me too. Now you're also doing things in Indonesia, and you're bringing things back to your country to sell.
Right.
Are you selling only within your country, or are you selling? I know your art you're selling all over the world, but the tangibles that you are selling, are those being sold all over the world or just in Switzerland?
No, well, it depends on what it is. If it's over 5 kilograms, then we only sell it in Switzerland. But our website actually has been online for at least 10 years now. Here's an shameless plug.
Absolutely.
something-special.ch. That's our website. That we sell our entire inventory. There are about 6,000 items at this point.
Okay, use that website again.
www.something-special, and it's .ch. That's the ending for Switzerland, ch.
Okay. And you have how many items on there?
I don't know, at least 6,000 at this point.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's all everything, from art to antiques to vintage stuff to collectibles to classics. And we have a whole Asian section, Bali. But a lot of the stuff we've taken from Bali is big, like Buddha statues that are like 3 or 4 feet tall. And those things we sell within Switzerland because they're just too heavy to mail. So if it's too heavy to mail, we won't export it. And,
now, are you using eBay, or is this all just through this website?
We used to do it through eBay, but now we just have enough of a following that we do it through our website. We got started on eBay, though.
You got started on eBay.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, this was back before eBay became user friendly, yeah.
We started in the mid-90s on eBay when it really wasn't being used, so we did really, really well in the very beginning because there was now a lot of the stuff we sell. There's just so much competition. It really doesn't seem worth it anymore to us. A lot of people are using Etsy, I've heard, these days for that.
Etsy?
People are selling stuff like we sell on Etsy now. That's what I'm hearing.
Interesting.
But like I said, we sell. Well, right now, what I do is I use Facebook to, drive traffic to our site, and then people buy on our site. And we're very well keyworded, and most of our customers tend to find us through Google.
Just because you place very well in the Google search engines, if they're looking
we've been up long enough, and our stuff is really keyworded well, and we've learned the tricks of SEO, of search engines optimization, and it just works out. If you're around long enough, they get you.
Wow!
It to happen overnight. It takes years sometimes, but now, and if you know what you're selling and you keyword it properly, and people are looking for that, then they find you. I mean, our most common source tends to be Google Images, surprisingly enough. We sell a lot of like 1960s, 1950s West German pottery and what's called fat lava. People look for that, and they tend to find us that way, or they're looking for, the odd kind of things we sell, and we keyword it right, and they're looking for that particular thing, then they find you.
How did you learn to do the search engine optimization? And before you answer, let me do a station ID and see if any of these people who are just lurking want to actually talk. I've got people lined up, but nobody has hit their little button that says that they want to say anything. If you wish to correspond or ask a question of Michael, the phone number is 347-994-3985. That's 347-994-3985. You are listening to LWTTV. This is Alea Leyland, and we are doing a Baby Boomers Going Global episode this morning, and we're speaking with Michael Brewer, who is an expat who lives in Switzerland and is a globetrotter. Our next segment of the show will be after we finish talking to Michael, which is probably another 20 minutes or so. The next segment of the show will be Lynn Ocean, and me, Alea Leyland, and we'll be talking about spa treatments in Southeast Asia. and how to pursue your sensuality without not necessarily without the sexuality part in Southeast Asia. So it's kind of for women and families and all of that, as opposed to the party set. So, Michael, how did you learn the search engine optimization part?
Well, in the beginning it was trial and error, and then the rest was YouTube.
Seriously?
I just went online and figured out, learned about how other people are doing it. And if you know, a lot of the times it's just common sense. If you have something for sale, just think about, well, how would you look for it? And you make sure that those words, the words you would enter in Google, are in your description of your product or in the first page of your website. It's actually a lot simpler than they make it out to be. Just think about how someone would look for you. Okay, Alea Leyland, you make very beautiful jewelry. And so I would find all the descriptive words of the jewelry that you sell and make sure that those keywords are in the description of your pieces, whether it's, crystal or gold or emerald or, custom designer jewelry. And those things should all be within the description of your product or on the page in which it's shown, or very, very close. It should be searchable. Just like the tags you've got here on your site.
Okay.
It's that easy. Search engine optimization is exactly the way it sounds. It's optimizing your entries so that it can be found by search engines. And be consistent. Be very consistent, because Google looks for that consistency. And the more consistent and the more you put those appropriate keywords up there, I mean, they really should be appropriate to what you're selling, the better you'll be listed and ranked in Google. I mean, if any of you people go up now, and you can test this right now, put Michael Brewer photography up in Google, and you'll see I'm all over the place.
Now, I use my name as one of the keys also, so that because I'm hoping that my name will eventually become recognizable so that it can be used as a brand.
Well, you're lucky because your name's unique. You have a very unique name, Michael Brewer. We're like a dime a dozen.
I saw that. I went to look for you on Skype, and oh my God, there's a million Michael Brewers.
Well, you have to you have to add things like a Michael Brewer gay guru. There's only one of me. Or you have to write Michael Brewer photography. I come up very up top to there. Or Michael Brewer Switzerland. That's another one. No, you have to have an add-on. But in your case, Alea Leyland, you're probably the only one. I'm
not the only Alea, but I am the only Alea Leyland.
Yeah, I'm sure you're the only one. I can't imagine there'd be a second one. I mean, you're one of a kind anyway, darling. But
thank you. When you search, if someone just searched travel photography, Switzerland.
No, that wouldn't. That's not specific enough.
Okay.
That would not work.
So,
for photography, and especially under Google Images, I'll come up all over the place. Or even to write Michael Brewer Switzerland photography, I'll come up all over the place.
So they still have to know who you are in order to find your work.
Not necessarily.
It's not going to be a random search.
Each one, like for example, on my photo website, I don't know how many photos I've got now, maybe 4,000 or 5,000. Each one is keyworded. And so if someone's looking necessarily for a photo of Switzerland, the chances are that mine will come up on that first or second page. I can't guarantee it, but very often, or Bali, just because my work is very well keyworded. So that's another way that a lot of people come to my site, is they just happen to randomly be looking for example, I'm also an illustrator. That was my original profession. And I have a illustration I did of the city of Ur, which is like the first city that people built. And it's an illustration I did for a book many years ago. And that's on my site. And for some reason, that's the most popular thing that's clicked on my site, because I guess there aren't that many illustrations of this place. And so if you type in city of Ur, which is U-R, It almost always comes up. In fact, I'm going to try it right now and see if I'm talking through my hat or not. People are like, I tried it didn't work. City of Ur. Let's see if that works. I just noticed through my Google Analytics, yep, there it is. Second one.
Wow. Okay. Now, I guess the other questions that people would have, nobody is biting my little thing to.
Come talk to us.
Yeah, really.
Is anyone out there?
We will answer. Oh, I can see them on the switchboard. So yeah, they're out there, just not. They're listening. They're lurkers. The other questions that I would have to do with when you. How do I say this? When you move from one job to another, like now you're going into opening a brick and mortar location, is it that much different than, say, moving from a one job to another in the U.S.? It's you still have to do the same stuff, right?
Well, I guess it really depends on a few things. I would say the first criterion of how easy that is to do is the language. You know, wherever you live, if you live outside the United States, it really makes a difference whether you speak the language of the country you're in. That's a huge, huge barrier. I mean, you can get by with English in a lot of places, but when you're doing business or have a job, it's pretty much essential to learn that language. I couldn't do what I'm doing now with the ease that I can do it with now because I'm fluent in the national language of the country I live in. But when I began, it was really difficult. I didn't speak hardly a word, and so I had to learn it. And so that's probably always the first hurdle of moving abroad. Is I really recommend it. Learn. I mean, a lot of people do it. They move to other countries and they never do. They just hang out with other expats. But you're only getting part of the experience. You're not getting the real experience if you don't speak the language.
That's a really valuable piece there because a lot of, first of all, it seems to be easier to learn another language when you're a little kid than it is when you're 50 years old.
Yeah.
But a lot of people on the RCA site and a lot of our listeners seem to be, they're reluctant to try to learn another language. Thai being like really difficult because you know it's not only another language but it's another alphabet.
But not possible. It's all possible. If you really want to do it, you can do it.
But you're saying that unless you know that's like the first thing that should be tackled before everything else when you get to a new country is to get the language.
I wouldn't say it has to be done, you know, a first thing, but I would say I would start immediately and just learn by doing. I mean, once you're immersed in the country, it comes pretty quickly. I mean, I don't know about Thai. I imagine that's a pretty hard thing. I know that in Bali, for example, it seems really hard. But even in the few times I've been there, I've picked up quite a bit just by learn from the kids. I always find the kids teach you the best.
Really?
That's why I always learn. Now we're here down in Italy, and I'm learning from a 5-year-old. She teaches me words, and I teach her English. She teaches me German. That's my experience, and just learn practically just by doing it. You pick up a glass and you say class, and you see what's that in Italian or what's that in the other language, and just learn all a little bit at a time. I don't think you have to. You don't have to just learn the language and then start living. Just live and learn the language as you're there, just naturally. Just absorb it. That's what immersion's all about.
Did you take any classes in Swiss to learn the language?
Yeah, well, in Switzerland's a bit tricky because I had to learn 2 languages. The written language is High German, which is spoken all through the German regions, but the spoken language is Swiss German, which is not a written language. It's only a spoken language, but that's the dialect that everyone talks. And so I learned the dialect through my daughter, as she was born in California but grew up here. So she learned it, I learned it. and I did go to school to learn High German, but it was also just by immersing myself in it. Watching TV, listening to the radio, reading the advertising, and driving my wife absolutely crazy by asking everything every 2 minutes. What's that? What's this? What's that mean? And it just after a while, you just get it. It's just immersion. I think that's just jump in the deep end of the pool. Just go do it and be there and learn it. You're motivated. And I was an adult. I wasn't a kid when I came here. I was in my 30s. And so, it can be done. And now I'm a translator, so I'm very fluent. So I can translate anything from German into English.
Wow.
So, but I have no degree or any real formal training. But I'm I guess one of the top 5 translators now in this country.
You're one of the top 5 translators and no formal training as a translator.
No, I just learned. I can write. I'm a good writer, but no, I just figured it out. I translate Swiss National Bank and the post office and the airport.
I guess you're one of the top. You're translating for the government.
Yeah.
But again, is that one of those? I'm a lucky boy kind of things, or you know
what else I do, darling. There's no luck. You're either a match, or you know how to manifest, or you don't.
Right, and so it is a manifestation thing as opposed to, okay, I'm going to set out this plan and I'm going to do this and I'm going to call this one, and it's not so much like that. It's more intuitive.
Well, you do take the action, but you wait till you're inspired to take it.
Okay, inspired action.
Yeah, and you trust that you're going to be in the right place at the right time, and that's always been the case in my life.
I think I have been too. A lot of times, though, myself, and I've heard this from other people as well, when they get, quote, inspired, end quote, sometimes it seems that where their life is at that moment, they're not able to follow the inspiration, or it looks like they're not able to follow the inspiration. I say it myself, and I hear other people say it. I go, oh my God, well, I've got 3 more years left on my lease. I want to go now. I feel inspired to go now, but I've got 3 more years left on my lease. Or, other people are like, well, I want to go now, but I have to wait until I retire, or, whatever. What would you recommend, or do you just kind of just keep the sights set there and just keep moving in that direction?
Right. It's sort of like set the vision and then delegate the details to, I call it the universal manager. You can call it whatever you want, the goddess or God or whatever, whatever floats your boat. But the details, have the vision of where you want to be, focus on that vision, and then always look for little signs that point you in that direction along the way. It doesn't, there's a great expression that says God's delays are not God's denials. And that's sort of a Christian kind of a thing, but it means, okay, you want to go to Thailand. I know that's your dream. But you got 3 years on your lease. But maybe in the meantime, if you keep your sights set on that, someone's going to swoop in and say, oh, you've got a lease, I'd like to take that over. Or I'll sublet your place for 2 years or something. Something always
right.
Something always comes up. Just like when I came here, and the career that I'd pursued and gone to school for, nobody wanted what I was selling. And I was good, but they didn't want it.
Really.
But then this other thing came up and became my new career, and something I never saw myself doing.
Right.
It's something else comes up.
we've got Lynn. I see Lynn's phone number coming up on the switchboard as she wants to join our conversation. Can you stick around for a couple more minutes? And
yeah, sure.
she's my co-host on the next half of the show, but I'd like to bring her on. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Good morning, Lynn.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show. It's so happy to see you here. I'm talking to Michael, and
Hi.
I don't know
Michael.
how much you heard.
I didn't hear. I am so sorry. I didn't hear anything.
Oh, no.
I'll have to
where
go back and look at it. Go back and listen.
Where are you physically?
Oregon,
Okay.
and soon to be in Thailand, visiting December for a month, and then moving August or hopefully July 2014.
Oh, good for you.
Michael has given us some amazing information that I think flies across the board for moving to any country. Just lots and lots of stuff about reinventing yourself and all of that. So, yeah, you're going to have to go back and listen to it. But I'm just wondering, knowing what little I told you about Michael and what's on our introduction for the show, that Michael is an expat who has been an expat forever and a global traveler. Do you have any questions for him or anything to add to our conversation?
Wow, put me on the spot because I didn't hear what the conversation was. I'm always just in awe and fascinated by people like you, Michael, that just take the bull by the horns and just go for it. And I was talking to Alea last week, and it was like, well, she falls in a pile of smelly stuff and comes out icky smelling stuff, and she comes out smelling like a rose.
Yeah,
So
that's me too.
I think we need to be flexible. Do you agree with maybe if you could sum up
Yes,
a couple
definitely.
words to give people other than flexibility when you're traveling?
Well, I was talking to Leah, and excuse for the rest of you if I'm repeating myself here, that you need to be a cat and land on your feet, and you need to be willing to reinvent yourself to adapt your circumstances. And as I was saying to Leah before, when I moved to Switzerland in 1990, I was a trained graphic designer from the Walt Disney School and moved here with my newborn baby, and nobody wanted what I was selling. I had no means of income, and I'm living in a very expensive place, Cebu, not Thailand here. This is more like Hawaii. And I had to reinvent myself, and I did. And I'm constantly reinventing myself, and I'm in the process of reinventing myself again now. And so you just gotta. I guess it gets to a point where you say, my priority is I want to be here, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do that. And not have this fixed, rigid idea that I'm a whatever your profession is, fill in here, but that I'm a person and I want to live here, and right now there's a need for someone to sell fish and chips, and I'm going to sell fish and chips until I find something better.
And the attitude that goes along with that of just enjoying life and having fun with it.
Well, yeah, it's an adventure because, and I think I said this also earlier in this conversation, is when you move to another country, it's a wonderful thing. You get to reinvent yourself and be a whole different person. I'm a different person in this country than I was in my native country, which is in the States.
Let me ask you this, Michael. When you left the U.S., going to Switzerland, going out on your globetrotting adventure, did you? I mean, you were really young, and you guys were broke. That's why you were leaving.
Well, I gotta be honest. We sold our house for three times what we had bought it for just 3 years earlier. We bought it at the height of the real estate market, so we did have enough money to keep us going for about a year. And so that was it was good. But once that was gone, my ex-wife supported us until I got on my feet, and that's because I started from zero here with no language skills or anything. I had to start from scratch.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's the case for most people that move abroad. If you move to Thailand, you probably don't speak Thai. It's something you're gonna have to learn, and so you got to be patient with yourself in the beginning there, and realize that you're starting off on baby feet, and learn the language bit by bit. And maybe in the beginning you do some kind of job that's maybe in the world's view a bit menial or not exactly what you usually did, but sometimes those things really help.
Yeah, Thailand is a little weird that way because they have weird work stuff going on. Go ahead, Lynn.
Well, that's okay. Do you sense that when you were in whichever country you were in, that it took less than a year you clicked one day and it was like, this feels normal. This feels like home now?
It took about 2 years for me.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it took about 2 years. In the beginning, it just takes a while to acclimate. And I think the more foreign the culture, the longer it probably takes. I've gone to Bali a number of times, and I think it would take me a long time to really feel like I'm one of them. And I think in some cultures you may never feel that, especially in a culture that's as foreign as Thailand or as Asia. You may always feel like an expat. And like in Switzerland now, I speak in the native dialect, and I can people don't even guess I'm American. They think I'm from Holland. But they know I'm from somewhere else, but they now scratch their heads and make a game of guessing where that might be. But that took a long time. I've been here for 23 years, so it's taken a while. But I would imagine we thought about moving to Bali a couple of years back, and we thought, I think we would always be outsiders there, because as much as we love the people and we've got dear friends there, like family to us, I don't know, just because the way we look, we're taller, we're lighter skinned, and we would probably never speak their language really fluently. I think you would have to resign yourself to some countries to knowing that you're always going to be an expat. Whereas I was lucky to be in a European country. I'm half German in my blood, so I kind of look like the people here, that I can blend in to some extent.
That's interesting because I feel like an expat on Earth.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue, darling. We all feel that. And we are all expats on Earth.
That's great.
But I think, it's very tempting. I know a lot of people that live here in Switzerland, especially people that married like a Swiss person and live here, and they really ghettoize themselves in their little expat community. And there's I like to hang out with them, and I go to their parties, and I hang out with them to some degree. But I think that's a bit of a shame. You miss out on some of the reason you moved there in the first place. I like the culture here, so I also like to have friends and immerse myself in that culture. And I've go up in the mountains, live in a little hut, and hang out with people that don't speak a word of English. And now I'm trying it again. I spend a lot of time down here in the Italian part of Switzerland, and I stay with this family. And I was explaining to Alea, I'm learning Italian because I really love that language, and I want to immerse myself in this culture and not speak English as much, but try to get by in Italian as much as I can. That's the trick. Just do it. Just immerse yourself and force yourself to speak it, and it'll be amazed how quickly it comes.
That's encouraging.
I'm looking forward. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't speak for Thai. I don't know Thai. I know some Thai people, but they live here. So I don't know how easy that is. Italian, of course, is a Romantic language, so it's it has some similarities to the other languages I speak, but it's a matter of being open-minded and not being afraid to get out there and mingle with the people. You'll be amazed how supportive people can be. If they see you trying to speak their language and respecting their culture and trying to be part of that culture, they'll go out of their way to help you. And I've experienced that in every country I've ever been in. If you don't come across as superior or the conqueror or the exploiter of their country, but you say, look, I really respect your country. I want to learn. What's the word for this? How do you say that? And you try and you listen to them when they correct you. They will bend over backwards to help you. I've never seen that fail, ever, any place, except maybe France. But they're special people. But even there, if you're outside of Paris, they'll really try to help you. And they really respect that. If you come and you're open-minded and you come with a loving heart and you say, look, I love your culture, teach me, they will.
Oh, wow. Open-minded with a loving heart, teach me. I think that would be a really good T-shirt.
Never failed me. Within the 6 months of me moving to this country, I was singing. I couldn't believe I did this. I was singing in a men's chorus in a little farming community. I was the first foreigner in the 500-year history of this chorus. and I didn't understand a word I was singing. About a year later, I finally figured out that all the songs were about women, wine, and hunting. And I said, this is boring. Why are we singing about this? I don't like any of those things.
Oh, how funny.
And then, and it's funny because then after a while, I moved to another town, and they're in their statutes. Once you join, you never can quit. They have no exit. Ooh. So after 23 years, I'm still a member of this little chorus on retirement. So that was funny. But that's the sort of thing that endears you to people if you really go and you say, look, I want to be integrated. And that's a big mistake. I find that a lot of expats and a lot of people I know right in this country here, that they isolate themselves in their own community and they only speak English. They don't properly learn the language and they don't embrace the culture. I mean, for me, I was so fascinated to see the culture here and to learn it and to try to be part of it. And it really helped me to learn the language very fast. And not only that, but to be accepted among the people here as one of them. And that's very much the case now. I mean,
wow, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope that helped you guys. You probably want to move on to your next segment now, huh?
Well, I don't know. Len's going to tell us all about spotting.
All right. Well, it sounds like it's going to get kind of girly, so I'm going to chime in.
Listen to you.
But it's been a very lovely talking to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Enjoy your vacation, your mini vacations. You take more vacations, like every week you're on vacation, but enjoy.
I know. I'm going
vacation.
to this really exotic place in a couple of weeks, New York.
Oh.
Well, it's a family thing, so I'll be going back home for a wedding in a couple of weeks, and but this year we've got all sorts of things lined up. Let's see, I'm going to Croatia in June. I'm going to go to Greece and Crete in September. Somewhere else, where was it? Oh, I'm flying down to Italy again in October. So it's never a dull moment.
Every month you're on a trip. Give us your website one more time so that people can follow you by watching your pictures. And if you have
I have a lot of websites. I probably have more websites than anyone you'll ever find out. But if you really want to watch my photography and travels, the best place to reach me is michaelbrewerphotos.com.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michael.
Nice to talk to you. I love you, Leah. I miss you dearly.
I'm going to get to Switzerland one of these days.
You're welcome. The door's open, hon. And
okay.
It's a nice chat. Nice meeting you, Lynn. Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Michael.
Bye, darling.
Wow.
Wow. I'm definitely going to go back and listen to the whole thing.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. And we will see you again next week Have a wonderful day. Aloha.